Open up. Let's see. Open up.
See?
Come on.
It ain't pretty.
Wow.
Oh, that's fucked up. Yeah, I would tongue the shit out of that.
Okay. I didn't see that coming today. I love you boys. I have a funny feeling I'm going to see one of your balls at some point. Not for nothing. I just think it's going to happen. I don't know why.
I feel pretty close to you guys.
Just a ball?
Maybe just one. I don't know. I'm not sure how this is going to go down. I'm just saying.
We all got them.
One would be very premeditated.
2 could be played off as accidental. Yeah.
Sort of. There you go. Look at that bad boy. There you go.
You ever do the baby bird where you got the plums and the shaft where you're just kind of holding them all where it looks like a little baby bird?
Keeping the eggs warm.
You turn around. Hey, you guys want to see a baby bird? Fucking turn around.
I'm going to try that tonight when I get home.
Yeah, that ought to go over well. Oh, my God. I don't think your son will like it.
Sights and sounds and edges found. You will now get down with The Underground, the show that goes to the depths of the Dynasty landscape. Dynasty Underground is back. I am Trav hosting and West coasting. It is fantasy playoffs, folks, and they are in full swing. We were talking about it before the show. You guys got a bunch of leagues in the playoffs. Joe, your survivor pool is kicking. Not so good for me, but of course we got Jax Falcone, the Miyagi. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing good. I complained and bitched and moaned about being knocked out of the Scott Fish Bowl, and sure enough, I'm not only in it, but I think I'm 11th in that fucking thing. So, oops, sorry for swearing so early on the YouTube show. I know you're gonna have to mute that so we don't get thrown off.
We don't mute here. We use the quacking sensor.
Yeah,
you know
the
that.
quack.
Yeah.
I love that. Quack me out, baby.
Yeah, we are all on Team Jax Falcone for Scott Fish Bowl. Joe and I didn't even know what stage of the playoffs we were at this point because it's been that long since we had to really care. But Jax, we are all on.
I'll give
Jax.
one quick shout out to
Please.
someone who you all know is a legit player, Dynasty redraft, Matt Chester.
I was going to say, I knew who it was going to be.
The Jester.
I looked today.
He's such a stud. He's a really awesome player.
Yeah.
We're in the club championship. He's first in that. I'm going to play him this week in that. He's favored. He was the 1 seed on the 8 seed, whatever. Point of the matter, he's just, you always see him at the top. He's always winning. He's just a really dope player. Matt Chester.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I find him like humbly sharp. You know what I mean? He's not like loud about it. You sometimes don't really notice that he's just been up there the whole time until you notice and you're like, fuck, he's just always there.
He's always there.
So shout out. Of course, in the corner office with the view, got the half zip sweater on top of what looks like the polo tonight, sharp as a math for the holiday season. How are you, Joe Quavius?
You got to go with the half zip. It's getting chilly up here in Northern California. Things are good, man. I clinched a first round bye in our Dynasty Underground League. Feeling pretty good about that. Feeling very strong in 2 out of my 3 home leagues. The playoff trash talking has begun. I'm starting Brock Purdy this week just to troll one of my opponents. It's a magical time of year. This is the best. This is what we're here for. It's just to talk shit and win playoff games and make side bets. I love this time of year.
Absolutely.
Yes. Right around Christmas too, also, which is also a wonderful time of year.
Yeah, it's always nice getting that little deposit right before Christmas, hey, or right around Christmas after you spent all of your fucking money. That's good.
It's funny you say that because on the show today, I did the undrafted earlier with Theo. I said the exact same thing on my intro. My open was, I love this time of year. This is so cool. I love looking at all my teams and figuring out which team is a competitor and reorganizing things. And, once you have a portfolio, you kind of have to make some notes because you really need to know where your priorities are because you need to fucking win. You know what I mean? And so I have a little thing with the 25 leagues and I update it every week where that team is at and what I need to do. That way I can look at that real quick as opposed to going into every league to figure out where I'm at. I can just go through it and be like, oh yeah, that's the league I got, whatever, a bye, and I'm not worried, or whatever the case. You know what I mean? I kind of know what I'm up against in every league, and it's fun as fuck, dude. I love it. Sorry,
So
go
I
back.
need to start doing that.
Mhm.
I literally was scrambling to set a lineup this week, and it's like, oh wait, no, this team's on bye. We're
Yeah.
good. I don't need to do anything here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because week 13, 14, you could be clinched. So 13, 14, 15, 16, it's kind of like you're not sure which ones are important. And what I do is every week I put an asterisk next to each team that is, needs to win this week.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what I'm focusing on. I just go right to those first, make sure they're dialed in, then go to everything else. So
That's nice.
Smart.
That's nice. Yeah, I just had some thoughts on making a little template myself, and so maybe that's something I'll share over, Joe, and you can tinker with it and make it fit for you. And maybe if we like it, maybe it's something we share with the listeners as just a little something that we use to keep our teams organized. Jax, I like that. So good little unexpected tip for people on keeping their shit organized, and something that we might be able to help with. So stay tuned for that, because the wheels are turning, but now I have to get back onto the show sheet as opposed to diving into a spreadsheet. So thank you, boys. There's a lot to talk about. I do want to give a shout out to that Underground League, though. Those boys are humming. Joe, you're in second place in that league, as you mentioned. Matt Wiggins, first place. K-Troll, love K-Troll. Turbo Blast in third. Marcus in fourth. Keegan in fifth, and Duke's in sixth. So considering that league was sprung from this show, I feel like we should have given them, the playoff teams, a little bit of space to get a shout out there. So with that, boys,
and actually Dukes is
Okay.
not sixth.
That's what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, he's sixth, but he's not, because the
it hasn't
sixth
turned
place,
over yet.
No, it has. Sixth place does not go to the person with the sixth best record. It goes to the best most points of the remaining teams. So it's actually St. K got in there.
St. K.
Yeah, he's in the playoffs at 5-9. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, yeah. At a
Can't
baby.
wait to beat his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just kidding, St. K. I love you.
Yeah, he's the man. He's the man. Okay, boys. So getting into this show sheet here, we're gonna start off. There's some quarterback news that is buzzing right now, and I think we got to talk about it. First one, I mean, you guys
Tyrod
talk
Taylor?
about no.
Okay,
no.
just checking.
You guys talk about me having lots of kids. Welcome back, Bolo, Ty Ware, and Philip Rivers. He seems like he might have sent, enough of those kids off to college to where he can come back and play football. His old buddy Shane Steichen, who may or may not be younger than Philip Rivers, called him up and said, Phil, Riley Leonard is not the answer to this championship run. We need you, buddy. And he's doing it. I saw today he was signed to their practice squad, but it's only a matter of time before he gets switched up to the active roster. We had a little bit of fun chit-chatting about this before the show, boys, but obviously we have to attach some fantasy analysis to it. Joe, why don't you kick us off with your thoughts on the signing and maybe what you think about what it means for fantasy?
Well, I just want to harken back to a few weeks ago, a month ago, when the Colts traded 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, and I made the joke.
Not interested.
I made the joke that this is the Dynasty team that's good for the first time in forever.
Yes.
And they completely blew their load, right? And went all in way too early, unnecessarily.
Totally.
Right? And they are following that pattern to a T. Now they're just like, oh my God, I'm desperate. What are we going to do here? Philip Rivers?
Yes.
I don't want that to detract from the point that I am super, as a 40-something-year-old man, I am super excited to see Philip Rivers play football, and I'm rooting for him wholeheartedly. I've been reading like way too much about this because I'm like, how did this even happen? Right. So it's kind of interesting because Philip Rivers apparently coaches his kids' high school football team.
Yep.
And they run the same offense.
All 11 of them. All 11 of them.
Exactly. So they, no, one of them presumably is out of high school because he's a grandfather now. But
I just had
anyway,
to know which one's center, one plays right guard, the whole
How
thing.
does he have that much time?
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, so they run this offense, and apparently he calls Steichen on a weekly basis and like talks about concepts and everything. So I'm guessing this was just like a arrangement of convenience. Just like, dude, you know this offense. You're coaching the same thing, right? You're a coach on the field. Like, all I need is somebody to move the chains. That's all we got Daniel Jones here to do. You can do that. You don't. Yeah, I don't know. I cannot believe this is happening. I think it's got catastrophe probably written all over it, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend that I'm not going to be watching very intently and rooting very hard for Philip Rivers,
Yes.
one last time.
Mm-hmm. Give it to us,
Yes.
Phil.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think though that it is more likely a catastrophe than any other thing.
Yeah.
100%. I
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
there's
mean,
no.
Totally.
it didn't sound like a good idea when I heard it. It sounded very exciting. Like I was like, also
Well,
the same. I was like, well, this is something to pay attention to. But when I thought about like what are the range of outcomes, the range of outcomes 5 years ago when this dude was starting were not very good. 5 years cold open, middle of the season, just coming in guns ablazing, shooting from the hip at 44 years old sounds like a recipe for honestly an injury or some sort of terrible outcome. It says like the terrible outcomes, excuse me, far outweigh the like Rocky Balboa takes him down late somehow miraculously after being punched in the face 158 times straight. Like I just don't see that being the case. Like it just doesn't make any sense. This is not going
Dude
to be a
was a
storybook
year
thing.
a year away from eligibility for Hall of Fame inducting. Now, I don't know that he was going to make it anyways, but like it's just so funny in so many ways. And not only that, but like just think about what the last version of Philip Rivers was that we saw, right? Like this is to
Not
your
good
point, Jax. Like he could not push the ball down the field
at
at
all.
all.
Right.
He's screaming at the line of scrimmage. He's just yelling at his teammates. But there was not a curse word in there. It's just like, by golly, gosh darn it. Like, that's every
Dadgummit.
play. Clapping at the line of scrimmage is like, I can't wait. I fucking love that guy. Oh,
Yes.
Mhm.
sorry, quack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think we're far enough into the show where you can start swearing.
Yeah, we're good now. We're good, yeah. And yeah, it's he almost said as much too about not throwing the ball downfield. I saw an interview today and I cannot recall who it was with. But he was talking about coming in, how much he loved Tyler Warren's game. Got to get that kid out hunting with me. Dadgummit this, gosh darn it that. And then he starts talking about the receivers and he says, Alec's gonna be mad at me, boy, talking about Alec Pierce, saying that boy is not getting any of those downfield targets when I'm in there. Basically saying, I am not pushing the ball downfield, boys. I did not come here to do that. And he said, the host says, well, he's leading the league in yards per reception, and Philip Rivers goes, he was
Yeah.
leading the league in yards per reception. And so I think it's pretty clear from the horse's mouth itself that dadgummit Alec Pierce might not be getting as much of that downfield work. And so I think I think we do know that at the very least, Philip Rivers can hand the ball off, which is priority number one. Put it in the gut of Jonathan Taylor and let him work, especially down the stretch here, trying to get to that playoff run. And then, I mean, if they play Josh Downs more, maybe it's okay for him. But Tyler Warren is definitely the biggest winner, and maybe some of that intermediate to Michael Pittman. But I think that's the best we can hope for. And I'm not necessarily sure I'm going to bank on him keeping two receivers afloat. So Tyler Warren mostly, Jonathan Taylor mostly though, because I think this could be like 30 carries a game for the stretch run here.
At the very least, we know he's been coaching high school football, so he's throwing a football pretty regularly. He's around football. I'm sure he's around the weight room, so like maybe he's kept in good shape.
Around.
Who knows? But yeah. All right. So I have a question for you guys. Let's just say
He's in good shape. He's been peeking in the window of a weight room recently, so he'll be fine. It'll all be okay.
Eating his donut.
All I know is that the Seattle Seahawks have faced Max Brosmer and Kirk Cousins in the last 2 weeks, and they've fared to give up 9 total points and have like 12 turnovers returned for touchdowns. I think it's going to be more of the same for the Seattle defense at home. I do not envy Philip Rivers trying to make line calls in Seattle. I mean, this is just, come on, guys. Just close your eyes and picture you know,
I already
Phil
have.
Rivers
Screaming.
in Seattle with this defense where they've got speed everywhere. Like there's gonna be an interception return for a touchdown. I mean,
Oh yeah,
fucking
multiple
book it.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, but
Multiple.
dude,
Yeah.
there's gonna be a turnover for a touchdown for Seattle.
A couple where he's trying to throw it and a fumble return, you know what I mean? Where he just gets lit up, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be a fun day of football in Seattle, that's for sure.
Oof, that's a rough start.
So here's my question.
Okay.
What could you trade? Let's say you pick up
No.
Philip Rivers tonight.
I know.
What can you trade? Because I'm not gonna lie, I put claims in every single
Same.
league.
Same.
Philip Rivers, yeah, every single
Same.
league.
Yeah,
I
even
put
if I'm
claims
not
in.
competing, I've fucking put claims in on this guy
Absolutely,
just
why
out of
wouldn't?
pure principle.
It's a principle of the matter. This is a starting quarterback.
Yeah, out of pure
Odds.
principle.
Maybe a future Hall of Famer.
Hall of
So,
Fame guy. Yeah, exactly.
all right.
Future Hall of Famer, quarterback, I'm in. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I think the answer is anything. If you get anything, good.
Correct. A 4th round pick is fine.
I think a 5th round pick is fine, but do you think you can get a 4th?
I mean, yeah, probably.
By the time people listen to this show, the
Well,
waivers
not in
will have
Dynasty
already
Underground, I don't think, but yeah.
passed.
I don't want to be embarrassed next week.
Okay, boys.
K
So
Troll
I
played
was
the
just
pick
going
like
to
a 4th.
So I was just
Yeah.
going to Dynasty Daddy to see if there were any trades that had Philip Rivers included. He is
How could someone
unfortunately
have him?
not in their database.
Wait
Yeah,
Not in there.
because he's not been picked
Wait till
up yet.
tomorrow.
Yep.
Wait till
Yeah,
tomorrow.
true that.
Tomorrow there will be.
But you
Yeah.
never know. What if
It'll be
somebody
for fab.
stashed him?
Some of them will be for fab. Yeah,
What if somebody was playing the long game?
that's a long game.
That's a long, long game.
Wow.
Okay, boys. So moving over to New Orleans, he's been playing well lately.
Mhm.
Is it time that we started to give a shuck?
Yeah.
Because Tyler Shuck has 19 plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4. We're seeing him start to get some love in the community and he's looking like he is at least giving himself a shot at being the future option for the Saints. Has our interest significantly increased on Tyler Shuck as a producer for our fantasy teams, or is our interest mainly increased in the fact that his selling price has now gone up?
0 shares, 0 cares. I don't care about the selling price. But no, it's true. I don't. But I would say that I have a little FOMO. I'm I think I retweeted the Film Watchers guy. You guys love him. We all love
He's
him.
awesome.
Yeah, he's really fun. And he was where I first saw, it was after his first or second start, Shugs, and Film Watcher came out and said, this kid might be okay. Like, and he doesn't overstate things or anything. He just showed a bunch of things that he was doing that made it look like he might belong. And that's proven to be pretty accurate so far for the first, couple months that he's starting. And so I think he's probably okay. I don't think he's anything special, but for what you're trying to get for him, from him, of him, is basically that sort of quarterback 2. If he can get himself in the top 20, top 24 fantasy quarterbacks, that's a huge win for what you paid for him. Same thing with Shador, right? Like, this Shador situation, I think mimics the Shug situation in that, we paid a 2-3 turn pick, whether it was a late second, early third sometimes, just depends on the league, when it was drafted, etc. Right? But basically they leveled out somewhere in that 2-3 turn. Look, that's all you're looking for. If you could trade a second round pick for a productive quarterback, you'd do it right away.
Yeah. So just on Shuck, it's interesting. You just brought up a point that I think I made in either the pre-draft process, but I basically comped him to Derek Carr. It probably was post-draft then. It was comped him to Derek Carr, where it's just like he's this goofy kind. It's like goofy athletic, right? Where it's just like I don't know exactly what I'm watching here, but this dude is not athletic, right? There is something there. But to Travis' point, 3 top 12 finishes in the last month. He's the QB 16 in fantasy points per game since week 9 when he took over as a starter. So that's a QB 2 in our Superflex leagues. That's viable. His finishes are as follows: QB 23, QB 12, QB 23, QB 12, and QB 6.
Hmm.
right? So that's very firmly in the QB2 camp. And like this week, we sort of saw his upside, right? His completion rate over expected is 4.2%. That's upper middle class of quarterbacks since the time he's been started. And he's now established a little bit of a rushing floor too, right? Obviously, there were the two big rushing touchdowns. One of them was pretty impressive. And in the last 3 games, he's had, either 6 or 7 rush attempts in each of the last 3 games. I know. I knew it. I knew you were going to do that. For those who don't know, Jax just did the
6 or 7.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was a joke. He was the butt of a joke for us through the draft process. But at the same time, it's just like, listen, at a certain point, you got to just take him. And this is why you got to just take him, because sometimes this pans out. I think he's probably earned his way into starting games next season already. And I'm not entirely convinced that organization, with all the needs that they have, are going to draft a quarterback early.
I think they'd be delighted to start him next year if possible, given their other needs. We did make the butt of the joke, but I will say that my overarching advice has always been, you have to block your nose and pick the quarterback. You really have to. We've been preaching that. No matter who it is. Bo Nix was famously the one that I did, and I was like, I don't even like Bo Nix. I think he's going to suck, and then he's good, and who cares? Now I have him, and it's great. So yeah, you kind of have to force yourself to take quarterbacks at value in your rookie draft, and here's the reason why: Shador and Shug are showing exactly why.
Totally. To move on to Shador, guys, because he had a nice day for the Browns in that loss. 364 yards, 3 touchdowns. He added 29 on the ground and a rushing touchdown, which is a nice little cherry on top versus the production outlook we have for Shador. Finished the week as the quarterback 2, boys. And where I think this is a little bit different than a guy like Shuck is like the things that took teams off of Shador Sanders as a backup, the distraction factor, he's going to have a bunch of publicity following him. With Shador as a starter, that's not a bad thing for a team. You know what I mean? Like all that publicity, him being kind of that media star, especially for a Browns team that has had so many swings and misses at the quarterback position. And so I think much like the Saints, the Browns, maybe not Kevin Stefanski personally, obviously, because this wasn't his choice, but the Browns would be pretty thrilled to have Shador as their starter. And I don't know, there's something about that kind of swagness that makes me a little bit more interested in him on my team as like a quarterback 2 in Superflex, and seeing a little bit of the ceiling like we saw in this week from a passing perspective and the weapons that he has around him that we love, guys. I'm kind of stoked about those shares that I have for Shador. So like there is some FOMO for Shuck, but I think having some Shador shares kind of supplements that for me. And so do we think that Shador may have locked down kind of similar thing to Shuck where he's got a chance? Is he going to be still dealing with Dylan Gabriel? Are they going to bring somebody in? Like, what do we think?
Yeah, I think I agree with you wholeheartedly with everything you said there. I think in a lot of cases, Shug went ahead of Shador, and I had so many 3rd round Shadors. Like 3rd round rookie pick Shador Sanders was like, all right, if you're going to let me have this, I'll just do this then. Like why are you guys letting and the whole thing with Shador falling to the 5th round also was a comedy. That's bullshit. Like, anybody who was like, obviously the Mel Kiper is a comedy skit. That's a comedy skit because he's a moron, but he was not as wrong as people made him out to be. Like we evaluated Shador. Like he was, he was good. It was like, he definitely had the raw skills to be okay at this. Like, it's not like, oh, no way, he's a bum. That's not who he was. There was some erraticism to his play. There was some retreating into nothing, where he would just, run backwards to try and buy time, and some stuff that is not going to work in the NFL. And it didn't work in his first start. But this past week, he looked really good. He stepped up a bunch. He did escape effectively. He didn't run into trouble. He he played great. Now, granted, it was against Tennessee, whatever. I don't care. It was against an NFL team. So I'll give Shador all the credit in the world, and I'm super happy to have him in the leagues that I have him. I don't know exactly what I'd sell him for. By the way, his situation, I've said it before, sort of remind me of the Jameis situation, where I think a lot of times these GMs and coaches, they just really want an adult in the room. And Jameis isn't that. He's a fucking child out there. He is a comedy. He is so cool, but I don't think they want to hitch to him and be like, that's our leader. I think it's the same thing with Shador. I think they really think like, I'm not so sure about this guy, his makeup, who he is, and then all the everything else is going to come with it, the pressure to play him, and we're not sure if he's ready, et cetera, right? I think that's why a lot of people passed on him, but I think they passed on him to their detriment. Like Pittsburgh in round 3 or 4, like wouldn't rather have Shador Sanders than Caleb Johnson. Sorry, too soon. But it's true,
Or
right?
even Will Howard, like at this point.
Exactly. And then the final point I'm going to make, just as a side note, my little tweet about Jameis Winston starting for every team as a free agent whenever they need him would look really good in Indianapolis right now. That's all I'm going to say. This idea of Jameis being the weekly free agent that can play any week with any team as the highest bidder. You don't think Indianapolis is putting in max bid for fucking Jameis this week? Yes, they would have.
Just waiver wires. He's just a waiver wire QB, 1 week
He gets paid by the league, and the highest bid of the week gets.
That's hilarious.
This would be the fucking best thing ever. But anyway, go ahead.
All right. So I guess I'm going to be the voice of dissent here on Shador.
Come on.
And I'm sorry, we're not going to have unanimity. Yeah. So listen, he's
for me, myself, and Irene. You'll appreciate it someday.
Love that show.
I got it. So he's overperformed in terms of fantasy points per game. He's QB 20 since week 11, which is like nothing to write home about, but it's not bad. Adjusted completion percentage adjusted completion percentage 48 out of 50 since week 11, 64%. Catchable throw percentage 43 out of 50, 67%. Completion rate over expected negative 9.3%. That is the worst among anyone with 100 attempts. His fantasy points per, this is the positive note. First of all, everything I just said, that's worse than JJ McCarthy, who we completely crapped all over last episode.
Talk about the sample size for a second, please.
I know. I will. So here's the bright side, right? His fantasy points per drop back is at 0.5, which is very good. Right? And not very good. It's strong. That's a good number. But I feel like that's just heavily influenced by his 4 touchdown game that just took place. So I watched that game. I think Shador played well. I am not convinced at all yet, and I need to see more, is I guess where I'm coming from. I'm not writing him off, just like I wouldn't write JJ off, although I am very concerned. But all the indicators are pretty concerning. And so I'm just not there yet, guys. Like, I want to believe. I've stated many times, like, I hope he's good. I hope he proves everybody wrong. I also couldn't help but think to myself, the fact that the whole opposing team, the Titans, were making fun of him, right? They did a touchdown celebration or a turnover celebration, just making fun of him. I'm just like, I don't know, dude. Is this guy ever really going to succeed in the league? He's got so much crap he's going to take forever. I just don't know how much. We'll see what he's made of, I guess.
For sure. And like, that would be awesome. I think at best, he just needs to get himself worth a 2nd round pick for us Dynasty gamers, right? And I think on a 2 start sample size, that was rather nitpicky, sir. But
it's more than 2 starts.
I would. Shador, he's only got 2 starts, I think, doesn't he?
We're 4 starts in now.
4 starts? How the hell does that time fly like that? Jeez.
Yeah. Not to mention the half game that he played, which was abysmal. Now, granted, we'll give him a pass for that one.
3 starts, one half.
Oh yeah, I'm giving all of his advanced stuff a bit of a pass right now, just because he's coming in like extremely extenuating circumstances and stuff. I just think like we just want to see positive signs, and for me, this past week was ultra positive signs for something. Like, I don't think he was the reason they lost that. Well, I didn't actually watch the full game, so I can't say that for sure. But I think he, diced up Tennessee pretty good, which is a good sign, and probably better than we expected any game for him to have coming in this season.
That's true.
So when they finally allowed him to throw the ball, because the first few games they barely let him throw the ball very much, when they finally allowed him to throw the ball, it's nice to see that he was delivering to all these guys. And so that's what I'm taking away, Joe. I'm not going to let you poop on this party.
I'm just gonna say this is I mean, Tennessee is a pretty easy matchup for
Totally.
quarterbacks. Now, this is better than I would have even expected in that matchup, and it's way better than I expected. So I'm not writing him off. I'm just saying, like, let's not throw a parade for the guy yet either.
Totally.
I have a lot more I need to see.
We're all rooting for him though, right? Like we're all kind of rooting for him to succeed out of this kind of BS situation that he had coming into the league.
I'm always rooting for everybody to succeed. I mean, in reality, even guys I faded, like I'm not going to be upset if Shug like is awesome. Like it'll be
Totally.
cool. So like
Yeah.
I'm always rooting for everybody. But if we're talking about Shador versus, let's just put him this season versus all of the first and second year quarterbacks. In terms of like passer rating, I know it's not a perfect metric, but he is above JJ McCarthy and Cam Ward. He's above them. I mean, he's above Dylan Gabriel barely, but I think the thing that the number that's that's concerning is his completion percentage at 52%. It's really bad, but he's made big plays with the ball. He's thrown it down the field. I mean, I looked at like even just look at like Harold Fannin. Harold Fannin all of a sudden looks like Harold Fannin. Like he's got, he's catching the ball down the field. Like he's finally unlocking them. This team, nobody really thought like, oh, Cleveland's dope. They've got weapons everywhere. They're awesome. I think we felt like no matter who their quarterback is, they've got some issues on offense. I mean, no offense, but you were pimping like Cedric Tillman or whatever, not to say that. I'm just saying, like,
Shador got him concussed last game, by the way.
Yeah.
You get my point. Like, we hate Jerry Jeudy. He's their number one. Like, Jamari Thrash, Joku got hurt. It's like, who's he throwing to? I mean, we're grading on a scale a little bit. We're giving Cam Ward. I guess my point is we're giving Cam Ward all of this leeway. Oh no, he's a rookie. It's a tough situation. The offense isn't that good. Da 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 da. Is it that much worse or better than Tennessee? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, probably not that much different, right?
Yeah,
I
better
don't know.
defense, but yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
on
Better
team.
defense for sure, but
I'm on team Shador middle finger to the league kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I hope he fucking succeeds just because I would love to see that story. Big Dion fan too. Big Dion fan. So, there might be a little bias there, but I'm rooting for the kid.
I mean, they'll probably get a bit annoying, so that'd be the only thing I'm hedging against. But other than that, I really don't care. I just think that I think he showed signs this past week, and for his fourth game in the NFL, that was all right. I mean, he's got a long way to go. Just like, but all these rookies do. I mean, we're not expecting these guys to come in and just and dominate. So
Yeah.
I think we've got a long way to go.
I mean, yeah, I agree, and I think that kind of leads us well into the next quarterback, right? Which is JJ McCarthy, right? Where I think I just look at this differently, and this is a flaw of mine in this game where I'm ready to write guys off too soon, and I need probably to adjust that and be a little bit more patient, right? Like
Maybe.
JJ McCarthy just showed us why we need to wait a little bit longer, and the ironic thing is in our chat, I was the one 2 weeks ago. It was like, hey guys, we need to pump the brakes. JJ McCarthy needs to start a few more games. Then he had one catastrophic start. And I was like, I think I'm out on JJ McCarthy, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same deal. So I know I need to take a step back. I'm reserving judgment. But anyways, Trav, take it away. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
we get emotional, Joe. And this is where because here's the thing, like I always say, and you're a very strong thinker in this game. Okay, I'll give you a lot of credit.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I talk about that I've been preaching is be ready to be wrong. And so if you're sticking to your priors and you can't get off your priors, then you can't maneuver quickly enough to be effective in this game called Dynasty Fantasy Football. But at the same time, you don't want to be impatient. So those are
Mhm.
two rules that are basically in concert with each other, that you in conflict with each other, that you want to make in concert with each other. So you're trying to like find and strike the balance between impatience and being ready to be wrong, and staying patient with JJ McCarthy, but also not being a moron and being like, no, he's gonna be good, bro. And like,
Mhm.
that's the dumbest take for 3 years. You're like, dude, I'm telling you, he's gonna be like Baker Mayfield or whatever, and you just keep singing. But look, we've seen it with even Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, look at this. He's like the number one quarterback in the NFL in passer rating, and like
Mhm.
winning the most winning quarterback in the last 2 seasons with two separate teams. And he was dead. He was dead. He was never going to start again. Everybody was laughing at him when he saw Ghost, and the whole thing, right? He was he was close to done. And here
Mhm.
we are, and he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. So I think all of this stuff with these young prospects who are skilled. I mean, that was the one thing with Darnold. We knew he was very, very gifted, right? And I always think of the quarterback position as something that you need to be able to see so much stuff going on and react so quickly, and then rely on your physical gifts. Well, the physical gifts they're not the same for everybody, but they're close enough where, your physical gifts, you can't use your physical gifts to overcome everything else. You can't. It's not like a running back who can hit the wrong hole and just run someone over and
Mhm.
be gone. If if you hit, if you're not seeing it clear as the quarterback position, you're done.
Mhm. And I think,
It takes
Joe,
some
that's where I contrast with you, is I probably hang on a little bit too long and let the heartstrings come into play, as I've talked about, and where I wish I had that shrewd bone a little bit more sometimes, because I think when you probably kind of play out the averages and look at when people sell off of guys and just take what value not what value they can get, I bet you that is kind of winning EV versus holding on. Like holding on to Sam Darnold would have been a nasty little road, obviously, right? But
time. Right.
um,
Right.
yeah, and so I think it's good to have that, Joe, and it's good to be ready to do that at the same time. And so balance, of course, is the answer, but sometimes it's hard to find that for all of us. And to come back to the JJ McCarthy point, I was actually a little bit surprised last week, if you guys remember, at how down you guys were on him, being that you guys were much higher than him on me coming into the season. And you guys mentioned that you would definitely sell him for a second round pick straight up last week. And I ask you this week, is it the same cost if you're selling JJ McCarthy? Would you be taking a second round pick, or would you be kind of waiting and holding on, knowing that he still has some time to lengthen his runway as well?
I can field that question because I listened back to the show and I heard us say that, and I was like, do I really think that? I think a lot of that conversation was stemming from his value, not necessarily from what the advice is about what I would do with JJ McCarthy. Because what I have done with JJ McCarthy is sit and hold. Because I do tend to agree with you, Trav, that I do see a world where he's worth more. And if he's worth any less, I mean, here's the thing, nobody's really breaking down the doors to pay a second or two. Nobody's like, hey man, mind if I buy JJ McCarthy for a sec? Like, I didn't get any offers. So, maybe I should have sent some offers, right? Because I think people were itching to sell. Yeah, I'm more of a hold in those situations. To your point, um, I think the value is what it is. And I was not eager to sell at that value, more eager to buy. As a matter of fact, I did say that too. I'll buy them for 2/3. What are we doing here? Right?
Yeah.
So when of course, I'd probably buy them for the right second as well. Now, of course, feels a little bit better. I think it's with some of these rookie quarterbacks, sometimes it can be a rocky road, as you pointed out with the Sam Darnold experience. It was obviously super fucking rocky, but I think you can. It's been a long story. Troy Aikman, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes didn't even play his rookie year. Like even Drake May was awesome, and he wasn't. They won 3 games, but so sometimes these things that we saw him as being one of the elite ones. We were at him at quarterback 5, and if you go look at his rookie season, it wasn't like, I mean, it wasn't that good, was it? You know what I'm saying? You get my drift, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do. I think we just saw different things from Drake May. So,
Yes, for sure,
just
for sure,
going
of course. Yeah.
JJ McCarthy, right? Like Drew Brees. I'm actually kind of glad Drew Brees was calling this game this week. I don't know if you guys were like listening to the audio, but he was talking about how like it seemed pretty clear that JJ was just, planting his back foot and throwing to his first read. And those were his directions, is like, don't think too much, plant your foot and rip it, right? And like he talked about that multiple times on the broadcast. It seemed like that, he started making some progressions like later in the game. And we talked about last week and, over the course of the season with JJ, just how it seemed like he needs this thing to slow down for him. And
Yes.
so I think the counterbalance there that KOC went for was just like, don't think too much. Let's just simplify this for you. And what do we get? We got obviously the their opponent out after getting shut out the week before, and a very viable fantasy performance. My concern is this: he still can't. He still couldn't get like Jefferson and Addison going.
No.
But it's progress. His catchable throw rate is at 72.1%. That's low. His completion rate over expected is 3.5. I'd say that's pretty mid.
Yeah.
He's at 0.47 fantasy points per drop back, which is below Shador.
Yeah.
But I mentioned when we were talking about Shador some stuff that he's doing better than him. So back to our conversation last week. It's too early to tell. I think I still would take, if you offered me like an early second for JJ McCarthy right now, I think I would still take it. I just seeing the trajectory, this is too unknown and trending negative for me to not want to just take the liquidity and re-roll. But
Yeah.
Obviously we talked about, we harped on the small sample size last week, and obviously the career numbers look drastically different after a big win like last week. So anyways, go ahead, Jax.
No, I was gonna say if Cam Ward would have been drafted 15th overall and JJ were first overall, you'd probably feel a little bit different about that, because I think there's some, they can certainly cut ties with JJ very easily. They can just move on. It's not even a big deal. And so I think there's probably some of that built into your analysis, right? It's like sometimes these 101s, you give them a little bit more of a rope, and sometimes you can hang from it. I would say this too, though. There's some quarterbacks here that some of our listeners, you got to imagine, some of them are competing, and they're holding the Lamar Jackson. I did ask Theo, and I got to ask, this group, Trav, Joe, both of you, pivots. Would you pivot off Lamar? Because right now, pivoting off Lamar as a competitor, I've got a lot of teams with Lamar that is going into the playoffs right now, and I'm petrified. And I would love to sell on the value of Lamar, especially to a team that maybe is not in the playoffs, that can afford to wait till next year when he's more healthy and reap the rewards of maybe a profitable trade for them. But I don't know where there's very many pivots that I'm super excited about. I have a couple that I really like and a couple that both Theo and I liked. Are there any pivots off of Lamar that you would think might be a way to go? And would you?
That's a tough pivot, man. That is a really tough pivot, because Lamar could put up a 40 burger this week, and you're like, fuck, I just sold down. You know what I mean?
You can pivot up if you want. Pivot wherever you want.
Depending what you want to do there, I guess. Man, I'm looking at some of my schedule.
Can you get like Joe Burrow? The Joe Burrow team's probably out of the playoffs, so that's probably one of the first places I would go.
That's a good one.
I feel like it's obviously a different prototype of player.
Yep.
Right. But elite nonetheless, and you're confident Joe Burrow is going to consistently put up numbers. So that's a pivot I think I'd be comfortable making. You sell that buyer on the rushing upside and Lamar being unhealthy, and Joe Burrow's no stranger to injuries either, but you just take the heat that Joe Burrow is going to bring right now.
Yep.
So that's one I think I'd do 1 for 1.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Do you think that you would consider that trade on both sides of it? If you were holding Burrow, would you say, hey, I can get Lamar straight up here?
I think I would. If I was a losing team, I know that Lamar's upside is higher. His dynasty value is higher. And I'm offering this person production now versus, injured goods in Lamar. So I think that's like the first place I would go is to the Burrow owner, because they're unlikely to be a playoff team unless they're really well covered at quarterback.
Yeah, correct. This is definitely a dip on Lamar that's happening here, right? And that's the only reason why Joe Burrow straight up makes sense. We were talking a little bit about Brock Purdy, boys, and he has a pretty good playoff schedule. So if you can stomach and the plus is good enough,
Yeah.
then moving down to Purdy if you need to win through the playoffs like now. That is a
It's a good
much
one.
shorter term
I need
move,
a big
obviously.
plus. I need a big plus for
Well,
that.
That's a big plus, right? But that
what's the
big
plus?
plus could be
A
really
single
nice for your
first?
title run.
A 27 first plus Purdy? Too little?
Well, if I'm a Lamar manager going into the playoffs, I think I don't even want the pick. I think I want another
Sure.
player, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
like,
probably.
what about like a Lamar and Bucky?
Whoo!
You mean a Purdy and a
Or
Bucky?
sorry, Purdy and Bucky,
Yeah, I take that.
That's pretty solid. That's
Yeah.
pretty solid.
right?
That's pretty
Yeah.
interesting, right? There you go. I
Uh-huh.
like this. I like these. These are good.
Yeah.
I mentioned the one that I sent out, which was the dart and a first for Lamar. Like, give me dart and a first because I like darts, playoffs here. The other one we came up with was Dak. Centering around Dak. I mean, Dak and a player, Dak and a
Dak and a first, yeah, or Dak and a player, sure.
Dak and
I
a-
don't think I would give up Dart and a first for Lamar right now, which is
No,
crazy
I
to
don't think
say.
I
That's
know.
crazy.
I know. I don't think I would either, by the way. But I sent it everywhere where I had Lamar. I was like, fuck it, let's see it. If anybody wants this. In a bunch of spots, of course, I owned them both, so I couldn't do it. But yeah, that's where I'm thinking. I like the Burrow one straight up. I think that's a fair trade. You
Mhm.
send that, and you need a couple different ideas because you might just run into someone who's just simply not interested or whatever the case. You need a couple different avenues. I like those. Those are really good. And
Or
then
Jordan Love. Jordan Love being another nice little target. He is dealing right now.
he is dealing.
Yep.
Your boy Christian Watson's dealing too, Bubba.
Oh, baby, we got an alpha. We got an alpha. I love it. Okay, boys, we're going to switch gears off of fantasy before we move into our next fantasy topic. Jax, we've been talking a little bit about it. We've been trying to push towards having the non-fantasy question of the week. Why don't you lay it out for the people, and we'll talk about it. Give a shout out to the person who dropped it as well. I'm gonna make sure I have a little puff before this one, fellas.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good idea. Slashy, everybody knows him as Slashy.
Love Slash.
He changed his name to Matt on there. I don't know why. It's Slashy though. It's Slashy. And what's the picture of the princess? He's got like a princess giving a middle finger. So it's a wonderful little Twitter account with like no followers. It's ridiculous. He's a great dude. I follow him. Yeah, Slashy's great. He's actually a great Twitter follow too, I think.
He is.
Yeah.
I enjoy all of his content and all of his
Yes,
comments.
Mhm.
that's the thing about certain people. Like you're like, this is actually what Twitter is meant for. Is people like Slashy is out there doing the right things on Twitter.
Mhm.
Super
He's like
cool.
me, no check mark. We're fighting against the system.
Fighting against the system. He's super cool in terms of like fantasy football talk. Like he knows his shit, and then mostly a lot of nonsense, which is exactly what I'm on Twitter for. So it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyway, Slashy gave us the question of the week, and I'm gonna read it to you boys. You ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. Here, I'm gonna read it straight up. If us three, were shipwrecked on a deserted island in the Caribbean,
Ooh.
who would lose their mind first and who would survive the longest?
So I have a quick answer. I would lose my mind first.
Okay.
I would not survive the longest.
I disagree. I think you're like the calm one, the level-headed one. I would say that you're the one that would keep their cool the longest, but I don't know. It depends what the native plants are on this island in
Yes.
the Caribbean.
There needs to be a lot
that
of
could
good ones.
drastically swing the outcome of this whole endeavor.
Yes.
I'll tell you this.
That swings my pendulum big, actually.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this.
We'd find the plants.
Yeah.
We got to find the plants.
Yeah, I think the plants are there. We might even find a shipwreck with some other sort of plants.
Assuming the plants are there, then I kind of change my answer because I am calm in the face of this kind of stuff. I was kind of thinking of like my nagging mom podcast persona that we have here. You know what I mean? I was thinking that I would lose my mind trying to keep you two in order. But if we had the plants, I would be good. And I think we'd all survive, boys, if I'm being completely honest, because this sounds like a great fucking time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, number one, I'm not dying in the Caribbean, bro. That's not gonna kill me. I'm sorry. If you put me in some other island in the Arctic, I'm dead right away. Right in the Caribbean, are you kidding me? I'm
Yeah, so
fucking
I thought of this.
thriving.
I thought of this. Yes, the thriving crossed my mind. So the first thing crossed my mind was: are we talking like a survival situation where, like, food is hard to come by and like we're having a hard time with that? I'm gonna be the first to
Nah.
go because I'm older. I'm like fatter. I need more food. Like you guys are like in better shape. I'll be like, fuck this. You know, I can't. We can't find any goddamn food. But I'm thinking like we're in the Caribbean. Like we'll be able to fish. We'll just be able to
Yeah,
like
we have
we're
so much fish. We can figure that out eventually. It
we're
might take
gonna
a few
fucking
days.
fish. We're gonna
Yep.
fish. I'm gonna eat shit out of the ocean. We're gonna make a nice grill. We're just gonna have grilled fucking fish every night. You know, we'll see little birds' nests. You know, here and there.
Yeah, here and there you might see a couple baby
So
birds.
many birds nests. I've been meaning to go on a multi-day fast. Like, I
Yeah.
actually think this would be good for me. I
Yeah.
think it'd be great for me. And then eventually, by the time we figure out how to catch fish,
We'd be right
we'll be
back
in
to being
great
fat.
shape.
You'll
Yeah,
be
yeah.
shredded.
Weather's awesome. We're swimming. We
Plenty of
got
time to
native
work out.
plants to
Yeah.
enjoy.
If we find weed growing anywhere, if we can get weed growing,
We're never coming back.
dude, I was gonna say we're thriving. None of us are losing our mind.
We can
No.
make rum. I'm pretty sure in the Caribbean. They make
Oof,
rum. We'll
let's
figure
hope we
that
can
out. Like,
figure that out.
Yep.
Yeah, we got to figure some stuff out. We
Yeah,
do have to
yeah.
figure some stuff out.
I would say sign me up right now.
Mhm.
3 of us on an
Totally.
island. I'm in.
Totally. You get us some podcast gear out
Yeah.
there, and the people are in for a treat.
They would be in for a treat. Just a lot of tan, you know, a lot of tan. Just no
In
shirts.
answer to your question, though, I agree with Jax. He loses his mind first and also dies first.
Yeah.
Wow.
Slit your throat in the night. Be careful.
You can make sure that's not the case, Joe.
I like Greek food.
Is that Heroes? Shout out to Slashy for that question.
And
served
by the
us
way,
up a good one.
Matt,
Yes,
change your name
please.
back to Slashy.
Mhm.
Stop with this Matt business.
You're Slashy.
Slashy.
Yeah, officially starting the petition for Slashy to ditch the government name business and just stick to Slashy.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what we know and love you as. But moving into the rest of the show sheet, boys, we got some running backs to talk about now. Some young performing running backs at that. And I think they're good ones to talk about for the stretch run and for the long-term future. First one is my guy, Jalen Wright.
Your boy.
Big day for the Dolphins. Obviously, there was an injury to Devon Achane, but Jalen Wright was able to take advantage of it. And I always kind of said that while I thought that he could be 1B to Devon Achane catching an injury was where we were really going to see upside from Jalen Wright. And we saw some of that. We don't wish injuries upon anybody, but when we're looking for these high-end handcuffs at the end of the season for our playoff runs, I think Jalen Wright is one of the better ones you can find right now. Jax, you were talking about him as being a priority in your Scott Fishbowl team that's advancing. This episode will come out after those waivers. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't worry about
it. I was thinking about those wheels were turning, and then when I stopped talking, I had to make sure that I got that out there. So
yeah,
we're good there. But yeah, so you're attacking Jalen Wright in your Scott Fishbowl. What are we thinking about his maybe short term, and then has he boosted his long term?
Lord knows I'm a Jalen Wright fan, and Lord knows I did what Joe was talking about, which was give up on him. You know, I guess giving up on him was still rostering him on deep dynasty leagues, and I mean, it's not like we could sell him. We just sort of saw his value shrink to nothing when they got Ollie Gordon, and when it looked like he had fallen completely out of favor. And then in this game, you know, he runs the ball 24 times for over 100 yards and a touchdown, and looks good doing it. I mean, it was against the Jets. I guess this is grading on a curve, but again, it was in an NFL game, and it was in an NFL game where Achane had already had a great game. Like both of them got off. So, I mean, yeah, I still think, well, obviously he appears to be some sort of a handcuff at this particular point, which I don't think any of us really saw coming.
Yeah, he basically took over when Achane went down. It was not like a split between him and Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon got a touchdown late in the game, but it was primarily because, Wright was winded. What I really liked about this performance is that we saw some decisive interior running from right, and it was really good. And most of it was out of shotgun because Tua sucks.
Yeah.
And so the interior runs were still very successful out of shotgun, right? And so, like, I don't know. I mean, Trav, you mentioned it kind of tangentially, but I'm at the point we talked about Achane being a trade candidate at the trade deadline, right? I'm at the point where I want Achane to go elsewhere. I want him to get traded, and I want this to be because I think Achane's going to succeed anywhere he goes, and I want this to be like a Wright and Gordon backfield. Like I saw enough from Wright where I'm like, this dude's good enough to be a starter. The scheme from coming out of Tennessee was always the concern, right? It was just like,
Yeah.
how's he going to adjust to the NFL? And yeah, it took a year and a half. It took us giving up hope on him. And just when we were like, I think this guy might be done, like he's shown some good stuff. It's like, oh, wait, he started to figure the NFL lanes in the NFL game out. And now this dude is cutting through B gaps and cutting through C gaps and like looking really good in traffic, which is like kind of what the concern we had was.
Mhm.
And he's kind of erased that concern. So now it's like, I have faith in this guy. He can do this. Granted, it was against the Jets sort of depleted defense, but and also the Dolphins ran the ball like it was 1999 because the team they were playing against did not have a freaking quarterback to speak of. So game script was definitely in their favor, but I was happy to see what we saw from Wright.
Totally. And they have Pittsburgh this week, which is a much tougher matchup against running backs. But then they have Cincy and Tampa Bay, which are great matchups for running backs. And so it'll be interesting to see what that split looks like because Achane still just has a Q tag. So looks like there is a chance that he does play. I haven't checked any of the practice reports or anything. It is only Tuesday.
Seems like he's playing.
Seems like he's going to play. Okay. So looks like it's going to be less work, obviously, for Jalen Wright. But has he carved out more? And can he capitalize on lesser? I think he can be that kind of running back. My candle was always kind of lit for Jalen Wright. I think you guys know that. I was a big fan and
Sure.
kind of kept that candle a little bit lit just because of the run game he was a part of, and one where I'll go for deep in that run game just because I want guys that are a part of it. Now, we don't know what that looks like for the long term with Mike McDaniel, if he's going to be there after this season, what the offensive turnover is going to be, etc. Your little backfield split would be amazing, Joe. Don't necessarily know what's going to happen there. So, Jax, what are you treating Jalen Wright as going forward? Because I think there's a little bit of a value boost here.
Handcuff. I mean, I don't know if there's that much upside going forward. You know, I mean, we do this so often especially at the running back position. We say, well, if this guy leaves, then this guy's going to be the guy. And you guys just did it again. Every time I hear that, whether it's, and I'm not picking on you guys, just every time I hear that, I always think, probably not. You know, it's just in the back of my head. That probably won't happen. You know, and it's just, and I do it to myself. Like, I'll be like, oh, if probably not. You know, it's like, oh, if, you know, it's probably not going to be that guy. You know, it's just so often we ascribe the next player, and it's Rico Dowdle. You know, you're like, who the fuck is Rico Dowdle? You know, it's someone that you've never heard of that just pops up and steals your lunch. It's a rookie. It's a free agent. It's not Jaden Blue. It's fucking Javonte Williams. You know, it's just, you know, you think you have it figured out, and that guy just doesn't do anything. So there's always that to the running back position. So I think he's a guy, though. He shows he's a guy. We loved him. He was big, he was fast, and he was productive, and he could run through contact a bit. Now, he was a little bit of a scheme guy. You know, the Tennessee situation has always been one of those where you're like, we're not even really sure because of how they scheme everything. And but, you know, hey, look, you know, we're at the point now where he showed something in a real game, and that's all we needed to see to know that it's possible, A, and B, that they like him enough. That's really it. We talk about running back. I'll take whatever running back is going to get 20 carries. I don't really give a shit what his name is or how fast he is. I mean, opportunity greater than sign, whatever the fuck you're talking about at the running back position. And I think this showed that at least it's possible that if Achane goes down, that Jalen Wright could have a full workload behind him, which is why he's an important handcuff at this particular point, especially for me with a lot of Achane, you know, shares going into the playoffs here in Dynasty. I mean, yeah, I'm putting all the money on Jalen Wright to make sure I've got him, and probably not. You know, it'd probably be Ollie Gordon next time. You know what I mean? Like you know, you still don't know, but I think it's at least more likely than not that he is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, another young running back who is making a case in New Orleans. Is Devin the real deal Neil?
Your
I
boy
don't, I
again.
don't, and my boy again, I guess. Yeah, this is an old T-Rav show sheet here. Don't know if the real deal is his nickname, but decided to give him that because anybody, and myself included, who has a name that rhymes with that, you just have to put it there. But he's playing okay in New Orleans, coming in for an injured Alvin Kamara, boosting the value a little bit. He is the beneficiary of injuries. Of course, Kendre Miller is not there, which needs to be noted. But have you guys risen a little bit on him? I know there was a little bit of fade action there, but not like he's dead. But I think he's recouped a bit, Joe.
Oh my God. I mean, I don't remember exactly where I had Neil ranked. I know I was way lower than you, but I always like thought there was a possibility. So I never like closed it off.
Mm-hmm.
But, Jax was just talking about if a coach likes a guy. Did you guys hear Kellen Moore's
Mm-mm.
presser where he
Tell
talked
me.
about Devin Neal? Oh my God. He was gushing about his preparation. He said, I jotted some of this down. I said, I love Devin. The way he prepares, the way he's always ready to play. I love his energy. I love the juice. Protection is usually a problem when you're talking about young guys getting on the field. Protection is the least of our problems with him. Look, that's about as high
Love
a
that.
praise as a rookie can get from a
Yep,
coach, especially a dude
absolutely.
that just got 19 rush attempts. Listen, Kamara ain't getting any younger, and apparently he's not getting any healthier because he hasn't practiced since his injury. I actually think, of all the running backs we're going to talk about today, I just had a side note on Devin Neal because I think he is going to be the screaming buy of the offseason. Kamara probably isn't leaving and he probably isn't retiring. So you're going to be paying backup prices for Devin Neal. And this guy is performing like a starter on, Kellen Moore offense that seems to be ascending. He's getting the most out of Shuck. Like they are overperforming in terms of expectations. And Devin Neal's going to be a part of that. So listen, I had high hopes for Kendre Miller. I still believe in Kamara, but what we're seeing from Neal is the real deal.
Yeah, I think he's a sixth round pick. Kendre Miller was playing very good, and Kamara does exist. Those things are all the negatives, but the positives are that we thought Devin Neal was, I thought he was a jack of all trades, master of none, right? So I think that's what we're hearing from Kellen Moore, right? Is that he's a good fucking football player, which is what we thought. He doesn't exactly have like elite breakaway speed, but he's pretty fast, right? He's not huge, but he's pretty big. Like everything. He's pretty. I really liked the way he looked in between the tackles and small spaces. I thought he moved really well. I thought he was just a good little running back, and that would bode well as a translatable skill to the NFL. And it has. He's been fine. I mean, he hasn't really broken anything. I think he's got like only 2 10-yard runs. So, in whatever it is, 50 attempts thus far. It's not breakaway stuff. I mean, Jalen Wright had 3 10-yard runs in his 20 carries just this past week. So just to give you some comparison, he's 3.6 yards per carry thus far this season. I don't know. I mean, that's probably something to do with New Orleans not being all that good too, right? So, so he's been okay, but as of right now, I think he's a screaming buy right now, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, because I think you're going to get RB2 ish, RB2 3, in that ballpark performances from him, maybe as high as some RB1 finishes. Certainly in the realm of range of outcomes, especially because he is their pass down back. Given the fact that he has been targeted pretty heavily,
Yeah.
and the fact that you just mentioned he's a protection back. So all that to say that I think, if you're dealing with somebody or buying from somebody who thinks he's going to be the starter next year, he may be too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
If you're dealing with somebody who thinks that maybe this is just a rental guy and you can pay a fair to below market value for him right now, I think he's a great buy
Yeah.
as a contender, because you do have the asymmetrical upside of possibly him being the lead back of this team next year. That's in the cards. I'm not saying it's going to be cleared for him as a 6th-round pick, but it's definitely in the cards. He's going to have to compete with Kamara, who might be dead by then. I mean, figuratively, and Kendre Miller, who's really never shown to be anything more than explosive in spurts. So there we go.
Well, the reason I said he was the screen by the offseason is because everybody who has him right now is starting him, right? Like
Right.
you're going to be hard pressed getting
Well,
below
unless they're
market
out of the
value.
out of the playoffs,
I
obviously.
mean,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't. I just want to point out, like, I looked across my leagues, and almost everybody that has Devin Neal is in the playoffs. So maybe that's just a
Yeah.
me personally thing. I was like, I can't buy him anywhere here in any of these leagues. So in the offseason, when they think like the rental is over and he's back to being Kamara's backup, that's when
Yeah.
I'm going to strike. So that's kind of, I think, where my comment came from.
Yeah. We lost Trav. Look at him.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment, boys. And I've kind of always maintained with Devin Neal that unique to this 2025 draft class too, draft class adjusted. I would call him a 4th round draft pick just because this was really deep and we saw lots of these really talented guys get pushed back. I think
Sure.
this could be a weird time to buy too, because if we look at this schedule, he has 2 of the best matchups coming up in Carolina and the Jets. So he could show out in those matchups. And Jax, to your point, I think that prices him out. Because somebody's going to be wanting to get the value of those 2 performances if they come to fruition. He does have one of the toughest matchups in Tennessee in week 17 for fantasy championships. So beware. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting buy right now. I don't know. I think he could get a little bit cheaper than he will be right now, but I love the player. And I think that in the right system, if he keeps going and if this coaching staff, like you said, Joe, likes him that much, I think there's going to be some form of role or competition for role in 2026 and beyond. So love me some real deal Devin Neal, boys. I think this might be where the pants come off, guys. Back to back 20 pointers for our boy RJ Harvey. The first one 2 weeks ago was all about those 2 touchdowns. Didn't have that much yardage in that game, but this week we saw 99 total yards from scrimmage, another touchdown, and it looks like it's happening, boys. J.K. Dobbins, we don't really know what's going on there, and especially in 2025, we don't know who the competition for Harvey will be. We assume there might be some, but he's showing that he's going to have higher upside than whoever that guy is. And I think the Bags are happy, Joe.
Yeah, so I watched this game firsthand, watching the Broncos just destroy my hapless Raiders. And what my big takeaway was this is like, this was his most complete performance as a running back, where the success rate was really high. And the other thing we like about Harvey is he's got, right now with the absence of J.K. Dobbins, he's got the goal line work to himself. His receiving work and goal line work combined should pay the bills in tougher matchups, right? But in an easier matchup, like against the Raiders, I mean, he's just going to dominate. So he's been an RB1 on points per game basis since taking over, since Dobbins went down. Trav, you mentioned the back-to-back 20-point games. I mean, it kind of feels like he's one of those skeleton key running backs that you need down the stretch. So every team that's got RJ Harvey, I think you've got to be starting him. He's got a tough set of games ahead. But like I said, with the receiving and the red zone work, I think you just got to keep him in there because there's
You're bang on.
no there's no
He's
stopping.
like Travion, right? He can transcend any matchup. So I just wanted to kind of chime in to stack on your point there, Joe, that you have to start this guy.
We haven't seen like the monster yardage game from him yet, which
No.
is what I want to see next. But like the touchdown scoring is there, the receiving is there, and there's no other real viable option on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. Like, so RJ Harvey this past week had his season high in snap percentage, his season high in carries, and his season high in targets. So yeah, that's great. And that's what I was waiting for, because, I looked at it and like even last week against Washington, he played less than 50% of the snaps. And I was like, wait a second, if he's still in a kind of a majority timeshare, I don't love that. That's not awesome. So, if he's going to get that, that lion's share of the carries and of the opportunities, then I think he's fine, as you point out, because he does have the high value stuff, goal line, etc. So it's just the the committee that I didn't want to see from Harvey. And this past week, at least against Las Vegas, we didn't see that, because he's going to need a lot of volume in the last 3 games, because it's home against Green Bay, home against Jacksonville, on the road at Kansas City. 3 difficult matchups, especially against the run. So at some point or another, you would think at least they're going to have to score some points all 3 of those games. But so maybe get some pass work. But yeah, as long as he's got the full complement of opportunities, then I think he's okay. Y'all know I love him. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Just good to see those kid gloves potentially coming off for RJ Harvey. Boys, I missed this one on the show sheet, but we got to finish it out before we wrap.
Yeah.
Blake Corum is looking sick in Los Angeles. Maybe not the backup running back that we wanted to come through the rubble
right now.
Previous. What's that?
He's taking his pants off.
Yep.
Yeah, Joe's taking his pants off for Blake Corum. Joe was the biggest Blake Corum guy on the show when he was coming out. And this is one of those running backs that we told you to attach to, right? Go deep into this bag. We told you to take Jarquez Hunter. And if there was a 4th guy whose name we knew, we'd probably tell you to get that guy too. And Blake Corum has just taken advantage of the opportunities. Over the last 2 weeks, guys, he's at over 10 yards per carry. He's got 3 touchdowns in those 2 games also. So on a team that gives lucrative work to running backs, Blake Corum has proven that he's been a good stash. Joe?
That, this past Sunday, that was the guy we saw at Michigan, particularly junior year Michigan. I know everyone talks about the senior year. They won the national championship, all of that. But like, he had the injury at the end of the year. He wasn't exactly the same guy in the senior year, but that was the dude, right? That's who I was waiting for. And he's finally showing himself in the NFL. And like, this is kind of the theme of this show. We've been talking about it kind of persistently. Like, guys take a year and a half, especially running backs. Like, some of these guys just don't show it right away. But I mean, this is starting to look like a 50-50 split. I think we touched on that a few weeks ago. Like, imagine Kyren Williams, but more explosive and doesn't fumble, right? Like, I mean, I know he had that fumble a couple weeks ago, but like, doesn't fumble as much as Kyren Williams. Blake Corum is the Blake Corum of Kyren Williams's. That's my take. I'm over the moon. I have a lot of Corum. And dude, this B gap and C gap running, this interior scheme that they're pulling off on the Rams, and this wagon that he's attached to, I don't like, we're at a 50-50 split right now, and I expect that to move in Corum's direction because the success rate is just completely undeniable. I know they trust Kyren, and Sean loves him like a son, but Blake is the more talented son.
All right, Joe, can before I kick it to Jax, could you put your pants back on? We got to keep our decorum here, please.
The bird.
Tuck that collar back in while you're at it too, you savage. You're getting disheveled.
Oh my God,
here.
sorry. It's a little hot in here. Sorry.
What are you thinking, Jax? And then,
very nice.
And then, you like that? Thank you. And then talk about the third man in this backfield who hasn't been discussed very much, if you will, after you discuss your feelings on Corum.
Puka Nacua?
Tutu Atwell?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not Jarquez. I don't even think he's gotten any rushing attempts this year. But listen, here's the thing. Yeah, I'm with you. Blake Corum has been straight up better than Kyren. He's been more explosive for sure. I mean, he's got about half the rushing attempts and the same number of 10-yard runs. Again, half the number of rushing attempts and more 15-yard runs. He's been 5.5 yards a carry to 4.9. So yeah, he's just been really, really good. He's had some big runs and it's showing. So, we kind of felt like Corum might be better than. I mean, we kind of thought he was better.
Mhm.
I mean, we really did. I mean, there was always the point that I mean, I know Matt Kelly lost some bets on this one, but he basically made the bet that after his rookie year, in his rookie year, he would take over for Kyren because he's better, and veteran deference won out. Meritocracy did not win out, because if it was straight up meritocracy, Blake Corum would have played ahead of Kyren Williams, but that's not how it works in the NFL. There is a certain thing where, and I've said this before on shows, where the incumbent is there. If you're going to take his job, you don't just need to be better. You have to be markedly better to sort of force the coach's hands. If you're close, too close. We're not going to fuck up the whole, running back room and the hierarchy of things and the way things work around here. If any of you guys have played football, it's kind of like the senior. The junior sometimes is better, but it's like, we're going to give the senior it's his senior year.
Mhm.
The junior's going to play because he's great, but we're not going to just send this senior to the bench. It's just sort of how it works. And, that's been the way of football locker rooms forever. Now we're starting to see it. They're giving him his opportunity, his 30%, and his 30% is better than his 60%. So
Mhm.
that should tend to shift. It has not really, though. Even though he's played really well in the last couple of games, he's been about 33%,
Mhm.
snap share for the last 5-10 weeks.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that we're going to see too much more from Corum going forward, especially given their schedule. Not an easy schedule. So he could sort of go back in the box here a little bit, down the stretch. I wouldn't necessarily be trusting him in my lineup, but whatever.
Yeah, he's probably like you got some hopes and dreams flex play, but I think
That's right.
if he can get a couple of those big plays
Yeah.
against those tough matchups on a team that allows for big plays, you know what I mean, and that allows for the running back to get touchdowns at the goal line. That's another thing too that I think kind of keeps Kyren in. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but he has like an incredible nose for the end zone when he's down near the goal line. You see him just kind of weave in or making sure he gets in there. He's pretty damn good at that for a guy that's like his size and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'll give him that. I didn't think he had that for sure.
Yep. No, he's
what's interesting is actually they've gotten the same number of touches inside the 10 over the course of the last several weeks. I have to go back and look at it, but
No, I think you're right.
They're basically splitting it up between these two, so they're not discounting Corum's ability down there either.
For sure.
And Corum has this other thing where he can score from 40 yards out, right? It's not like he's a burner.
No.
But Kyren is just so much slower, right?
Yes,
so
for sure.
Yeah. And he should, like, at his size, like, it's weird. He's like a small plotter. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
it's true.
Exactly.
It's strange,
gamer.
prototype. Yeah.
He's like, never mind. He's like almost a lunch pail holder.
He's like what Cam Scadbo should be.
First in, last out. How does he do it?
All right, boys. And I think that's a good place for us to
relegation
wrap on this.
Kyren Williams.
Oh man. Well, we hope all of our listeners have much luck in their fantasy football playoffs. We are always wide open on Twitter for you to ask us questions as well. If you're in the Discord, you can tag us in there. I am always in there on Sunday mornings as well, asking questions. So feel free to pop in and ask those. Tweet at us if you need the link. But yeah, just fun times right now. Jax was talking before the show, and we were all kind of talking about those leagues and running down where we're at and stuff. And just the chance to win some money, win some glory. I got a home league that I'm about to try and make a run for my second in the last 3 years. And so, yeah, it's just good times all around. Hopefully everybody's having a good holiday season as well. Whatever you celebrate. For Jax Falcone, for Joquavius Kuvatakis. We didn't have Coder in the back tonight, but we missed him. I am Trav. We'll see you next week. Peace.